On the surface, Minecraft 1.20.2 sounds like it'd be another ordinary minor update, with a few bug patches here and there. But for those of you who remember this version number, remember it for something that was pretty frowned upon by most of the community. This is because there was an experimental feature where villagers now had set trades depending on their biome ethnicity. However, while people were debating this, Mojang quietly slipped in a feature that would change the way people made Minecraft maps forever. Introducing macros. Now I'm assuming you don't know what macros are, and neither did I, up until I saw this video by Cloudwolf pop up in my recommended a few months ago. If you couldn't already tell, macros aren't a part of the classic survival experience, and seem to have something to do with commands. But even if you have never touched a command block, by the end of this, you'll understand the true power of macros, and maybe even learn how to use them. However, for that to happen, let's start off with the humble command block. These things are pretty powerful, as I just did that with the click of a button. Okay, moving on. Let's say you were making a game in Minecraft and wanted an armor stand to teleport a random number 1 through 5 blocks towards the left. Okay, so this command block over here will generate a number between 1 and 5 when we press this button. So now I went to 4, and in these 5 commands, they will check each number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then teleport this armor stand the correct amount of blocks depending on the random number selected. So here it teleported 4 blocks because that's what the random number was. And then if we generate it again, now it's 5, so it teleports 5 blocks to the left. Now while this works pretty well, imagine you need to teleport an armor stand between 1 to 100 blocks to the left. No one is making 100 commands just to do this. It would be nice if they could go into a text file where you could easily edit them. Thankfully, this has been possible since 2018, using something called a datapack. If it weren't for them, we most likely wouldn't even have macros. But first we need to answer the question of what even is a datapack. Welcome to the Minecraft files. Inside your world folder is a folder named datapacks. Here you can put as many files as you want. They just need to have the .mc function extension, which enables you to type vanilla commands inside them. Each line allows you to type one command. So if there were 4 lines in this file, in Minecraft it would look like this. And if there are only 2 commands, it would just be 2 command blocks. Let's use the armor stand example from before to show you this in action. Okay, I spent like 5 minutes setting this up. Now we just have to make a file. Let's just call it example.mc function. Now let's paste the random number generator command and set it to 1 in 100. And now we have to use this command for every number the random number could be. So basically I need to paste this command in 100 times and then edit it for each number 1 to 100. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes and I've finally got all 100 commands done. So now we go in the game, we place down the armor stand, and then we run /function example. And like a good boy, it teleported 8 blocks to the left. Okay, let's just run it again one more time. Now it teleported 90, so now it's gone. But would you believe me if I told you that we can do that with just 4 commands? Like, that would be insane. What could possibly allow us to do this? Well, of course I'm talking about macros. So let's look into how. So here is the command that gets a number between 1 and 100. Now next up, this long, kinda confusing command basically stores the result of this random number in this data storage thing under the name distance. The name distance is important because that's where the random number will get stored. And then this function main execute macro orders this file that I have over here to run this command, which for now only teleports the armor stand to itself. So I first need to do $, bracket, and then the name distance. So we copy that, put it here, close the bracket, and then put a $sign in front of the command, which turns it into a macro. And then we go into Minecraft, and in function main example, the armor stand teleports up 60 blocks this time, and falls down. And this time it's only 39. So this kind of feels like year 7 again, when they introduced letters into math and we questioned why the heck they would ever be useful. And the same can be said for macros, because who really needs an armor stand to teleport a random number of blocks? But it's a valid question to have. So to answer it, let's put you into my shoes. I recently made a practice map where there are 5 skills that you can practice, and now I want to add the 6th one, crafting practice. But I want this one to be unlike any other. All the current ones you have to like select from a range of armor, tools, and some stuff that speedrunners like to craft. But what if you could practice crafting anything in the entire game? Like flint and steel, an acacia boat, or even
wax lightly weather cut copper stairs.
Now this all seems a bit messy, so let me explain how I want this to work. So here is this double chest where the player can choose to put any item they want to practice crafting inside here. Then we run a random number generator, and then like a command will spit out the item, and in a chat it says iron helmet was selected. Then it would give you the items, and then you have to craft it, and then it gives you your time. And yeah, that's basically how I want it to work.
4 to 6 days later.
Surely now it's picking a random item in this chest. Why is it giving me oak boats every freaking time? What is this?
4 to 6 more days later.
Finally, I've got it working now. So why don't I start off by yapping about what these commands actually do, since the way the game works is like the exact same as the example I showed before. First off, we need to count the total number of slots that are taken up by an item in the chest. That's exactly what these 2 commands do, and these 2 over here add up the total. Skipping over this line, we'll move to a command that you should be sort of familiar with by now, to generate a random number, but now it is between 0 and 2 billion. Such a big number is not necessary, but I prefer my projects to contain personal stats, such as women I've flattered by doing projects like this. Then we take the total chest slots and the random number to get a number between 1 and the total items that are in the chest. All that was done by this command. Now skipping over this as it's not important, there are 3 commands here which basically store the random number in this data point called craft:temp under the name index. Then we call this extract_item function with this data. So here in the next file, this macro function obtains the ID of the item in the chest depending on the index. So going back to the example, if the index was 6, the iron chestplate would be selected. But in command terms, it currently looks like this jumble of text. To fix it up, these 3 commands simplify the string into iron_chestplate and store it under file name. Then we move on to the next file, trigger recipe. Now this is where the magic really happens. Starting off at the top is the most important macro command in this project. If I take away the $, you can see that this is another function command, because macros just enable you to place variables inside commands, such as iron chestplate. So if I place this $sign back, when this function executes, depending on the item selected from the chest, it will run a .mc function file named after the item and /give the materials to the player. Wait, hold up. Does that mean there's a file for every craftable item in the game? And inside each one are the commands to give the player enough materials to craft that item? Yes, that is correct. Now before you think I should be placed into a mental asylum for presumably making over 1000 files containing /give commands to hand the ingredients to the player, you gotta hear me out. I'm gonna explain how I did this. For the first step, I used the same tool you used to find this video, called the internet, where I found a JSON list of every item in the game and its crafting recipe. Holy crap, it's 20,000 lines long! Then, at the cost of RAM prices increasing by 200%, I went to ChatGPT, and for 5 days I beat him with a belt like every good father-son relationship, until he made me this Python script, which uses the JSON file with every recipe in the game to get each item and its crafting recipe. Then with that info, it created 1025 files, and inside each file should be the commands to give the player the items. Now I could check every recipe in the game to see if the give commands are correct, but I checked over 100 files and there were no mistakes. So if you find an incorrect recipe, blame the clanker, not me. Lastly, inside the loop function, which runs 20 times per second, is a command that checks if you have crafted the item. And if you did, then it runs a file called end.mc function, where you get given your time and this nice level up sound plays. So let's see all of this in game. So here we are in game. So this lever opens up a chest where you can select what items you want to craft. And then we flick the lever again to save it. These settings over here I actually haven't talked about. But you can order the inventory or shuffle the hotbar. I'll keep it on ordered for now and explain later. But then you come over here to this crafting table. And then in chat or on the item frame it will say what to craft. And then you have to craft it. Or just do it again. One more. And that's how it works. Very simple. But randomized crafting ain't for everyone. So let me introduce you to another minigame that sucked up a week of my free time. Introducing bulk crafting. Now just like randomized crafting, there is a chest where you can put any craftable item inside it. However, this time you have to craft everything inside that chest in bulk. If you guessed that's how it works, for your intelligence, here is some food in Slither.io in the bottom left corner of the map on the Australian server. So yeah, you basically click this button, and are handed the materials to craft every item in the chest, and you gotta do it as fast as possible. Making this second game mode was a little easier because at least I didn't have to tell a clanker to write me a Python script and scream in his face to not include furnace recipes in the freaking code. Anyway, let's see if I can summarize how the commands work for bulk crafting within 30 seconds, because I know attention spans are cooked these days, even though I am impressed that you made it this far into the video. But most of the stuff is similar to the RNG crafting anyway, so let's get into it. First, we count up the total slots in the chest. Then we run these 54 macros to obtain the item ID in each slot, which is used to give the player the materials for each item up to 54 times. Also, these macros here add each item to the scoreboard so you can see what items you have left to craft. Next, inside the bulk loop function are some commands to check if you have crafted any of the items, and if so, it will subtract 1 point from the item's crafted score. Then once that reaches 0, an end.mc function file will be called, which will display your time. Oh, you think it ends here? Don't you think I need to suffer a little bit more? And to make a third crafting minigame to satisfy absolutely everyone? Well, it wasn't that bad. At least I didn't have to come up with an original idea for this minigame, since buried treasure chest crafting already exists. The way it works is by spawning in a buried treasure chest. Then you loot that chest, and using 8 logs already in your inventory, you craft up some basic stuff, and click the note block to end the timer. The commands are just as simple as playing the minigame, since half the work is done by this command here, which places a chest with the buried treasure loot already inside it. Then some basic stuff like starting a timer when the player opens a chest, and then having it stop when they click the note block, is done inside the loop function. There's also the option to have the crafting table pre-placed. Oh, and that reminds me of another setting I forgot to explain for random item and bulk crafting. It's called Hotbar shuffling. When this is disabled, all the materials to craft an item fill up your hotbar from left to right, and excess materials go inside the inventory. So when I enable shuffling, all the items in your inventory and hotbar get shuffled. For RNG crafting, this feature only needed to shuffle the hotbar, because there's never going to be more than 9 unique items to craft one recipe. So I'll explain real quick how this setting works using bulk crafting. Once you are given all the items, any empty slots are replaced with a placeholder item. Then your hotbar and inventory are cloned into 2 barrels, and your inventory is cleared. Then a macro will generate a random number, and that will cause an item in the barrel to be picked and given back to you. This repeats all in one singular tick until all the items in the barrel are given back, alongside the placeholder items being removed, which results in a shuffled hotbar and inventory. So that leaves me with nothing else to say but thank you for watching this video. You can download the practice map in the description below, and if you find anything wrong with the map, depending on how difficult it is to fix and how much of an impact it has, I will potentially resolve it. Potentially. But with that, lads, take care, enjoy the practice map, and have a good one.